Hello and welcome to Friends on Friends.
Friends on Friends.
The movie review podcast where we talk about each and every film starring a friend from Friends. This week we actually don't have a movie for you. We are instead finishing up our preseason with a look at season 1 of Friends. How are you, Danielle?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been fun revisiting season 1, knowing that these kids, I can call them kids because I'm a 30-something and they're probably like max 26, right? These kids don't know what's going to happen. They have been doing stuff that they may be proud of, they may be worked hard on, but they haven't hit their big break, and they probably feel that this is a little bit of their big break.
Yeah, I'm sure Jen Aniston feels like this is a different experience than being in Leprechaun.
Jen Aniston is kissing the ground of the studio every damn day.
So just to give you a little context, the preseason was us visiting the Friends actors' roles before the show started. When we return in 2 weeks, we are going to start reviewing all of the movies that came out while Friends was on the air.
Season 1.
But for now, we just want to talk a little bit about that season, a little bit about the arcs that the actors go through, and then we'll use that as kind of the background knowledge as we revisit or visit for the first time their season 1 movies.
Yeah, so this is a little bit more of a casual talk because I don't have any notes.
Yeah.
But I guess we can get into it. So after watching all of those movies that we have in the preseason, one for each of our friends, what are your impressions? Who's coming out as like the strong one? Who is benefiting most from the transition from movies to television?
We say this a lot, but Courtney Cox is coming into Friends as the star of the cast.
100%. I completely agree.
Did they say that she was paid more than other people at the beginning? I feel like I remember that from the Friends reunion, but that could be made up.
I don't remember either way.
I know they eventually balance, but yeah, Courtney Cox I think is coming into this the strongest.
She's 26 at this point. She's one of the older members of the cast, I think.
She is the oldest member of the cast. I don't remember how old she is. Let's see here. Courtney Cox, as we are learning that. 64. No, she is 30.
She's 30?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So Courtney Cox is 30 for this. And she is the oldest friend.
Yep.
The most established friend.
Yep.
I think Matt LeBlanc, in the early episodes, feels the greenest to me.
Yes, I can see that.
He just looks like a baby, I think.
He has this haircut that is so similar to his character in Reformed Schoolgirl that I think I said this in that episode. I really think that they were probably shooting around the same time, and one of them is like, "Don't cut your hair."
One of the amazing things, I think, watching the first episode, I think Jen Aniston walks onto the set and arrives.
Yes.
The first episode of Friends, I think Jennifer Aniston, she is the instigator of the plot, but she is also that is a star making 22 minutes of television.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see her come out of Leprechaun, where, again, I thought she's doing a lot of similar things, but it's just doesn't have the background, doesn't have the narrative weight. So it's just interesting to see how changing the context behind a performance can change how that performance lands for an audience.
Well, so watching the first episode, the pilot, I was struck by, honestly, how nervous they all seemed. Because Jen Aniston in particular comes on, and perhaps it's a character choice of this woman has just left her wedding and she's feeling heightened emotions. But Jen just looks super nervous, and her voice is high. Her voice is not the Rachel voice that we get even just 10 minutes later. It doesn't seem to me that was a choice that she made. It seems like she was legitimately just like, oh my God, I am a star on a new television show that's being filmed in front of a live studio audience. What if I mess up?
Yeah.
I didn't get that same sense of nerves later on, which tells me that maybe she just got more comfortable and that's just what was happening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what are your thoughts on the overall kind of arc of season 1? How do you feel like when you're picking a season when you were younger and
Yeah.
picking a season to like watch on the DVDs, or even now when you're streaming, like what are your thoughts about season 1 as a whole?
I mean, I feel like season 1 has a lot of very memorable moments that very few people will revisit. I think it is probably not the one that people will choose to rewatch as often. And I think that's just because you don't get as much of the friendship drama that comes a little bit later on. You get like moments like the like Marcel is just, we'll talk about Marcel. God, what a choice that was. That was a choice.
Everything I have to say about season 1 is completely negated by Marcel, but
Yes.
we'll get into that in a minute.
So there's the time where Rachel's doing her laundry for the first time. That her sitting in that little laundry cart, iconic, amazing. I think everyone vividly remembers the East German, actually I don't know, the East German laundry detergent is the name of the episode. So the woman was just a woman, and she was being a jerk. And you know what she looks like with her like short little hat and the green and the eyeliner. It was intense. It was great. I loved it.
Oh, excuse me. I was kind of using that machine,
Yeah, well, now you're kind of not.
but I saved it. I put my basket on top.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that your basket?
Yes.
It's really pretty. Unfortunately, I don't see suds.
What?
No suds, no save.
For me, the image that sticks in my mind, and this is just as a man loving physical comedy, is Schwimmer going face first into the open,
Amazing. Love it.
dryer door.
Yeah, they I think they really, for a sitcom that might premiere nowadays, Friends is so much more physical, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like a physical gag.
Yeah, and I think Schwimmer's the king of it, of this cast. I think
maybe right now.
Okay.
Because I do see Chandler doing a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking forward to leather pants.
Oh my God. Pivot. Can't even.
Pivot. But like you said, Matthew Perry does have the hit himself in the head with the handcuffed drawer.
So good. God, I can't wait for the rest of the show. Anyway.
But the laundry episode actually taps into what I wanted to essentially think about and talk about with season 1 of Friends, is that what I really enjoyed about this watch of it is realizing how much more grounded and down to earth season 1 is. And I really enjoy that tone of this show is really interested in a hangout tone and relatable New York stories. Like it's not quite Seinfeld, we're going to do 22 minutes waiting in a Chinese, but it's like doing 22 minutes where your A storyline is all just showing someone how to do laundry in a New York laundromat and the people you meet there. I really enjoy that. And one of the things that I was really taken with is like how many non-plot specific, non-even joke specific, just like conversations are happening that are just like friendship that I really like. Like the pilot opens with kind of a weird thing where it's like fades in and out, where it's like these are 3 different days and 3 different conversations the friends are having.
All right, so I'm back in high school. I'm standing in the middle of the cafeteria, and I realize I am totally naked.
Oh, yeah.
Then I look down, and I realize there is a phone there.
Instead of...
That's right.
Never had that.
All of a sudden, the phone starts to ring. And it turns out it's my mother. Which is very, very weird because she never calls me.
I think it's the same day. They're just hanging out at the coffee shop for hours at a time.
And that might be true. I don't remember if their outfits change at all.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's a kind of an odd thing stylistically when you see the rest of the show. Mm-hmm. But I think it is them trying to stake their claim early. This is a hangout show.
Yes.
The show is called Friends. We want you to experience this as a friendship, not as these are characters that are bouncing off of each other for a plot.
Yeah. And having them out in public just gives them so much more opportunity to interact with different people that the writers don't have to have a reason to introduce.
Yeah.
They are just characters. You have the weird guy who owns the coffee shop who's going to give Rachel a job. You have random people who come in. You have customers when Rachel becomes a waitress.
Yeah.
You have just a lot more potential. Well, this is what a third place is, right? Like, this is our third place. We have the ability to both feel at home, but also know that we're in public and we can have all these random experiences.
The irony is that on this show, it is literally a third place, but the other two places are just two different characters' apartments.
Very true, very true. Yeah, I never feel comfortable when we're at Ross's apartment.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. I think he has the Speed Racer poster. Is that Joey and Chandler?
I think that's Ross.
Yeah, which is an odd character touch. But
yeah.
One of the moments that really stuck out to me just today, I was watching an episode, and I don't even remember which episode it was, but there's a plot conversation going on with Monica and Chandler and I think Joey, and Ross and Phoebe are just sitting on the couch, and Ross is doing a crossword puzzle, and like he's occasionally like asking them, and Chandler will like make a zing, but like it will occasionally just cut back to them, and like Phoebe and Ross are just having a conversation about this crossword puzzle. And that's something that I think I miss in future seasons, which is that just like almost like aimless kind of diversion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoy that. And maybe, as we watch the rest of them, I will see that carries on through the show, but that's not something that sticks out in my mind.
We're watching it much more deliberately now, which I think is a change for me because, as I've said before, I really generally had it on in the background, and I'll watch it if I'm watching like an episode for a reason, like Thanksgiving. Like if I'm sitting, I'll watch a Thanksgiving episode. Let's be honest, I'm half on my phone. Like this is, it's a different viewing intent. Do you want to bring?
Oh,
up
I was just
something?
going to ask a question for
please.
you. So if you were to, right now, having not revisited the other 9 seasons, where does this fall in your 1 to 10 ranking?
Yeah, I do feel a little fonder now that I've seen this season. Oh boy, you're asking me all my rankings?
I mean, I don't need you to rank every season, but
Okay.
you're like, this feels like 5th best to me, or like, I think there's 4 seasons I like more than that, which I guess I just said the same thing in 2 different ways.
Actually, I might agree with that.
So right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle. I mean, it's not... I agree with you that there's very little absurdity until we get to the monkey. Very little that stretches the imagination of what could reasonably happen to young people living alone in New York. I think, let's see, I mean, obviously we're going to get the most unrealistic part is the apartment, all that. Putting that aside, this is approachable. Like I could know some of these people.
Yeah.
What I wanted to bring up is essentially a little bit of the writing. So I think that even though Courtney Cox came in as like the most established career actor, I don't think that they wrote for her nearly as much as they wrote for Rachel. And I would also say, David Schwimmer as well. I think they wrote for Monica without knowing who Monica was.
Yes.
So Monica has a lot of storylines that really could happen to any friend. So what I'm thinking is, even in the pilot, she has this entire discussion with her colleague at work who is never named. And how cool that you could say, yeah, I was in the pilot of Friends. I don't know. I looked her up one day. I don't think she does that much. But regardless, Monica's first pilot storyline, besides I have a new roommate, Rachel, is I'm going out with this guy, and this guy can't get it up, and he hasn't been able to since his divorce, whatever it is. And she essentially takes credit for restoring his sexuality. And that's not really the Monica we get to know very much later. Like, Monica has sex, and the sexuality is very open in the show compared to many shows back in that time. But that's not necessarily like a Monica thing.
That's a story that's happening to Monica.
Exactly.
Not a story that Monica is driving the way that I think all of the other characters really have.
Yeah, I mean, Ross is definitely driving the Ross, Rachel, will they, won't they? Because Rachel, at this point, is completely unaware. And that's a great moment. I want to get to the one where Rachel finds out, the finale. Oh, so good. And I think a lot of the Courtney Cox storylines are reacting to the things that are happening to her colleagues, her friends, her cohort, right?
Yep.
So, like, I'm thinking, and the one with 2 parts, I think it is, where
I watched that today, so I'll be
Oh,
able to
okay,
go
perfect. So that's when they're at the hospital,
Yes.
and they meet. Yeah, so they meet the people at the hospital, and she gets into a fight with Rachel about all these things that they think about each other, and Courtney Cox didn't really. I mean, Monica didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
there's not enough about Monica for there to really be biting remarks.
We don't know that she's a clean freak, really. I mean, like, she has a clean apartment.
I don't think they even know that yet.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the ones that are probably most dragging a bit are going to be Phoebe, because she really hasn't established her role yet. She's a little bit out there, which, all right.
Yeah.
You even asked me, what was Phoebe? She's Monica's old roommate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you've tapped into a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
So Monica, I was reading today that Courtney Cox was originally offered the Rachel role.
Right.
And she chose the Monica role. Why? I don't know.
I didn't realize she chose it. Okay, interesting.
That might not be accurate, but that's what I think I read.
Okay.
But Monica is very much, I think we established, the central focus of the friend group. Everyone who is in the friend group is in the friend group due to essentially their relationship to Monica.
Yes.
Because we have Ross as her brother, and then we have Chandler and Joey are roommates, and Chandler is the former roommate of her brother.
Yep. And they live across the hall from each other, so
Yes.
proximity, yeah.
Phoebe, like you said, is her former roommate, which
Yeah.
was my one real question because I didn't know how Phoebe connected to anybody. But then Rachel is her current roommate, so she's like the center of the wheel.
Maybe we all have a Monica.
Yes.
May we be Monicas, may we raise them.
I think, though, almost by not having you can flatten me into one sentence description, Monica feels almost the most well-rounded cast member early on. Like, she feels like an adult person
Yeah.
who has all of these friends, and I think in a different sitcom, it could have been the Monica show and like her 5 interesting friends who all have storylines, almost fulfilling that like Seinfeld-y role.
Yeah. Yeah. It is all her apartment.
Yeah. I'm glad that's not that show.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And they
Yeah.
run away
We
from
didn't
that
need it.
almost immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
So you wanted to talk a little bit about the Ross and Rachel thing?
I did. Before I move on, I wanted to talk a bit about Chandler and Joey, too. So Matthew Perry, as an actor, I think, is struggling to find a little bit of the balance of how to deliver Chandler's lines. So I don't think that this is a character choice. I think this is Matthew Perry maybe trying to find how to not only be zinging. I think when they write, and perhaps it's writing, right? Maybe when they're writing for him, it is only zingers. It is never that he's really contributing to the conversation. He's rarely having I guess the time that he's having a storyline where he has to do something is really when he's breaking up with Janice.
Yeah.
And that's when it's fun for me. Like, I can deal with maybe a few zingers per episode, but that bit where he's so uncomfortable and doesn't know what to do, that's when I enjoy Chandler most.
Thing, Janice, you know, I mean, it's like we're different. You know, I'm like the bing, bing, bing. You're like the boom, boom, boom.
Ow!
Oh, my God!
Ow.
I'm so sorry.
Ow.
Are you okay?
Ow. It's just my lens. It's my lens. I'll be right back.
I hit her in the eye. This is the worst breakup in the history of the world.
Oh my God.
See, in my watch, especially by the end of the season, I think what happened is the writers became so knowledgeable of and reliant on his ability to deliver a good joke. Like, at any point, if this conversation is dragging, we can rely on Matthew Perry to come in and say our
That's a good point.
like sarcastic line and like save the energy of the scene.
Yeah, and I will. I'll walk back my opinion of Chandler a little bit because I appreciate what you said, but I do want to say that I think they did not really know what to do with Joey. Mm-hmm. Because he has the least, like, in my opinion, growth. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of funny moments. I think that his endearing cluelessness is well done in this season.
Yeah.
In the first maybe episode or two, he's a little more
slimy.
Yeah, like he's
the womanizer of the group.
Exactly, but it's not in like a I'm good at dating way. It's like a how can I get girls way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a different vibe. But he doesn't have really, I'm just trying to remember, he doesn't really have that much of like this is what happened to him in season 1.
He has the VD poster.
Which is funny. Very funny. Again, it happened to him, so it is fun to see him react.
Yeah. That moment is an interesting, I think, stylistic moment for the show, because we end up with this pre-taped like montage of the posters going up around the city. And I was taken by that, like, stylistically, because the show, as it goes on, tends to never leave the live-on-tape format. They don't do a lot of stuff like that. They don't do
very
montages.
Rare. Yeah, they'll do a few. Like, one thing that stands out to me is when someone at Ross's work ate his sandwich, and he's saying, "My sandwich," and you zoom back different levels. But that's so interesting and stands out because it is so rare.
Yeah. And that's still set bound, too. What's interesting about the posters thing is that that's one of their, like, they're not on the back lot. They're not on set. They're actually shooting some location, I think, because none of the cast is there.
Sure.
So you can just shoot the posters.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my standout thoughts about the character arcs of season 1. Obviously, a lot of, like, Rachel is written for a lot. They are putting, I think, all their writing storylines onto Rachel, to an extent Ross, probably because he has one of the few consistent out of the friend group storylines with Carol and her pregnancy.
Yeah, which is funny because they drop that
so
like
quick.
A rock.
Oh my god, it's
Well, let's keep an eye on Ben. Just have a season-wide, like, Ben update.
Where's Ben?
What did Ben show up this year?
Well, we'll think of an alliterative or a fun way to talk about that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the finale? Do you want to talk about the resolution?
Let's talk about Marcel. No one has ever said that.
He stinks.
He's the worst. I feel like they knew as soon as they were doing it, because all the other characters besides Ross are like, what are you doing?
It's such an odd decision so late in the season. Like, if Ross had started the show with the monkey, that would be like, oh, they didn't know what to do with him, so they put a hat on it and they realized it didn't fit the tone of the show. By the time Marcel's introduced, I feel like they have a good handle on what the show is.
Yeah.
And, like, 1-2 episodes where Ross has a monkey, I think there could be some comedy there, but, like, why would they make the monkey into a main character?
It's very odd. I don't like monkeys.
No.
When they're at the zoo and they're like where they're supposed to be, that's fine. Those like street monkeys, the capuchin, I think is what Marcel is. They just freak me out. Their faces. Anyway, I don't like monkeys to begin with. And Ross having a monkey is just. There's nothing interesting in any storyline that Marcel is in.
Yeah.
Like, I think he comes back in the next season when we visit the set of that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And that's still weird. And even Ross makes a joke later on about, what was I thinking? Having a monkey.
They try and wring some drama out of the Ross-Rachel thing with the episode where she loses Marcel. Which is really the main piece of friction the two of them have the entire year, which is just an odd. I mean, I guess they wanted to have some kind of friction.
Yeah.
But it's back to back with Barry coming back. Which
is another weird choice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just.
Well, that was the episode that Ross is like, I'm going to tell her.
Yes.
And that's the thing that gets in the way.
Which I think is a good dramatic comedic beat.
Yeah.
Because he's sitting with her, he's about to say it, and then all of a sudden Barry opens the door, and he's like, why does nobody lock this door?
It's very funny. Yeah. Oh, another thing, just teeny tiny, that I wanted to point out. I love the refrigerator that they have. It is so old school. It's one of those like icebox looking things where it's, doesn't have a separate freezer. It's just old. I think it's cool.
I can't say I've ever looked at the refrigerator.
Oh, really?
I don't even know whose apartment you're talking about.
Oh, Monica's.
Okay, well, it could have been Chandler and Joey's.
I guess it could have, sure. Yeah.
That refrigerator has a big comedic beat later when Joey, when it breaks.
I wish I remembered what season was. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
It's after Chandler moves out with Monica.
He's trying to get people to pay for it.
Yeah, and he pushes Ross into the fridge. He's like, "You broke my fridge."
Oh God, it's such a good show. Anyway,
I get TikToks, which is how I kind of know the later season stuff. So,
but yes, let's talk about the finale.
Okay. Yes.
Well, you can go first. What are your thoughts?
No, you go first because I haven't revisited the finale.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay.
Enough.
So to recap for your purposes and anyone who might be forgetful, so the season finale is that it is Rachel's birthday. Ross cannot physically be there for Rachel's birthday. She has broken up with Barry, has been a bridesmaid in their wedding, Mindy and Barry's wedding. And she's now getting gifts, basically. The whole big part is she's getting gifts for her birthday. She gets a very special cameo pin from Ross that she said, "Oh, I saw this in a window in a shop one day, and I said it reminded me of one that my grandmother used to have. Like, I can't believe he remembered." And Chandler, very, very funnily, spills the beans.
I can't believe he did this.
Come on, Ross. Remember back in college when he fell in love with Carol and bought her that ridiculously expensive crystal duck?
What did you just say?
Crystal duck.
No. The love part?
Flannan.
Oh my God.
Oh, no. That's good. Just keep rubbing your head. That'll turn back time.
Yeah, it's great. And it also, I think that bit, so sweet, but it also establishes that Rachel is, still a little bit spoiled. She's giving back gifts. People give her things and she gives them back to them to you return this because I don't want this. Yeah, which we'll see her do later on, I think, as well with some Christmas gifts.
Yeah. I long term, not the biggest Ross and Rachel guy.
Okay.
Season 1, I like it. Season 1 is cute. I think the laundromat episode does a lot of heavy lifting.
Yes.
I think that is really the rom-com episode. I think that moment is great where she realizes what is being said. I still buy their, Ross has this infatuation. Rachel doesn't realize that she has a growing attraction, but maybe once it kind of clicks, does. I like that. I think just long-term, as their characters evolve, I don't think they evolve into compatible characters.
Yeah.
But I think as a one-season arc of, romance, I think this is almost a pitch-perfect way of, here's how you build this.
Yeah.
I think it's just a struggle is that after this, where do you go with that? They obviously they don't want to keep them a couple forever.
They don't keep them a couple forever. Mm-hmm. And I think more than most television shows, especially now, they keep breaking up for the will they, won't they payoff 10 years later.
Yeah.
And sorry, I wanted to add in that one of the reasons I like this episode a lot is because we don't end the season with, oh my god, Rachel finds out, what is she gonna do? We see a little bit of her indecision, and other characters are asking her, what are you gonna do? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then at some point she decides, I am gonna go for it, and she goes to meet him at the airport. We see that he's walking out with Julie, and he's walking out with a woman, and then they kiss. Oh my god, who is it? And Rachel doesn't know, and what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's a good season-long character arc, I think.
I will have to say, I mean, I forget how old Rachel's supposed to be. I think they are supposed to be about 25, 26, right? Because Monica, I'm pretty sure, is 26.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have to fact check ourselves on that, because one other thing I was telling you earlier, Ross has a doctorate and is a professor. And he's not that much older than Monica. He's maybe like 2-3 years, I think, older than Monica, based on like the prom episode and just later on.
Which would also put Chandler at that age.
Right. But what I'm thinking is that like Ross, to do a PhD, let's be generous, you went right out of undergrad. So let's say 5 to 7, maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And he's already, teaching. And I guess he works in a museum and he becomes a little bit more professor-y later on. But it's just so fascinating that they're like, yeah, this guy is, let's say 28-ish, and he's got his PhD and he's all set. And it is really not a big deal in his life. It's just a thing that we accept that he has a PhD.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's just diminishing his character's effort.
I was just thinking, I'm thinking of other character, like you said, modern shows tend not to pull all the will they, won't they this long.
Yes.
And I think when they do, they run into trouble. I'm thinking How I Met Your Mother runs into trouble doing that.
God, yeah.
But picture Parks and Rec. If Will They, Won't They between Ben and Leslie was not 1 season long, or 1.5 season, however long it actually is, but instead went until the end of the show.
Yeah.
How much poorer it would be for that.
Oh my God, we'd be miserable. And that show, I think, does keep the romance / excitement of seeing them. And we would have to talk about why, what it is that's a little bit different. But
I think because their relationship is as fun and funny as they are separately.
Individual, sure. Yeah. Rachel and Ross are not funny and fun together. Yeah.
We're going to find out throughout this podcast. You, the listeners, will find out that I am a Rachel Joey stan. I think they make so much more sense together. I think that's a cute coupling that is unexpected, and that's my end game for them.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you get what you want to a small extent. You get to see it.
Well, seeing it is what makes me want it.
I guess that's true.
But Ross just becomes, he's such a drip.
He is. But, I mean, he has probably, I don't want to say even undiagnosed, because at some point some doctor gives him a sedative, but he has clear issues with anxiety. I mean, his entire controlling of Rachel and her career, that's so clear. But we'll get to that, I suppose. It's not this season. This season, he's just
cute.
He keeps trying to tell her. I love that. He keeps trying, but oh my God, there's a blackout. Oh my God, she's on a date with this doctor. Oh my God, she lost his monkey.
Yeah.
It's just sweet.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Rolls in. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think the people who had the most to prove coming in are Lisa Kudrow, just because she, of all of them, seems like she had the smallest amount of starring experience and feels like the least established of the women. Somehow I feel like Matt LeBlanc is that version for the guys. And I don't really know why I think that, because I think Matthew Perry's character in Dance Till Dawn and whatever else he had was perhaps a little bit less than the amount of presence that Reform School girl Matt LeBlanc had. But I don't know, I feel like perhaps because of his Matthew Perry's proximity to big old teen stars, it was a much more respected project.
And I think another thing to note is that, we are getting a view of their careers, but we're not getting the full view because we're not getting the TV shows.
That's true.
And Matthew Perry has the most sitcom experience than, like, Matt LeBlanc,
Yeah. And
So.
You're right. Lisa Kudrow had, what's that show that she was on?
Mad About You.
That's Mad About You. Yeah, 100. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else. I really enjoy revisiting season 1.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, for joining our friendship.
Yes.
Thanks for being our friend.
And very excited to jump into season 1 of the podcast.
So excited.
We will be back in 2 weeks with Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Finally.
Finally, a movie with something.
I was telling Jacob, I'm just excited to see Jim Carrey make some faces.
We have 3 other films for season 1. Getting In, The Crazy Sitter, and Sketch Artist 2, Hands That See. We've got 2 Courtney Cox films, a Lisa Kudrow film, and I think Schwimmer's in Getting In. You'll find out.
We'll find out
in
together.
4 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being my friend. See ya.
Bye.